When you think about next generation, what crosses your mind? Star Trek, sports stars, the future. What about next generation of access control? My name is Leo Detz, CEO of Group 337 in the Inside, and along with our friends at Alcatraz.ai, we're kicking off a mini-series titled The Next Generation of Access Control. The purpose of this is to spark a conversation, a change, and a start of a new language for the industry. If we agree that the access control industry has entered its next generation, then we should agree we need to look, say, and act next generation. So what do you think when I say next generation of access control? To me, I think about facial authentication, biometrics, and how we interact with the built environment. But before we can talk about the future, let's take a quick trip into the past and up to today. Let's go back to 1973. We had Richard Nixon and the Watergate scandal. DJ Kool originates the hip-hop music genre in New York City. Elvis Presley's concert in Hawaii is the first worldwide telecast by any entertainer watched by more people than the Apollo moon landings. George Foreman wins boxing's World Heavyweight Championship, where he defeats Joe Frazier by technical knockout in the second round. We also had the birth of electronic access control. Card key was an early originator. The focus then, and all the way up to 1997, has been about keeping bad people out. June 29, 2007 started a new conversation. The significance of June 29, 2007 is the iPhone. Some would argue that the iPhone elevated the conversation beyond high security and introduced convenience. Sure, over the years, there have been technologies introduced that had a story around balancing convenience and safety, just like biometric readers, cloud architectures, or wireless lock sets, but the antibodies of the industry ate any of the advancements. Then the iPhone and the mainstream pressure of software came. From 2007 to 2020, software was eating the access control world one nibble at a time. Slowly changing the narrative we saw in the print ads and trade show booths. And then wham, 2020 and COVID T-boned the seesawing convenience and security debate with wellness. The results have been an acceleration of some of the changes we were already seeing before, the deceleration of ones that frankly weren't that meaningful enough, and the introduction of new ones. Most importantly, what it has done is highlighted an inflection point that we will look back to and say, this is the moment when next generation of access control took hold. And with the next generation has come a shift. A shift in many things, but a major shift in how we define and talk about our industry. We need a language that defines the next generation of access control. And let's start with something. Let's start with facial recognition versus facial authentication. As an industry, we've been focused on facial recognition when what new and next generation access control works with is facial authentication. So what's the difference? Let us first start by defining facial recognition. Facial recognition is a technology capable of matching a human face from a digital image or a video frame against a database of faces, typically employed to authenticate users through ID verification services, works by pinpointing and measuring facial features from a given image. It is about using surveillance programs and social media and other databases to build the effectiveness of the system. It's about matching 1 to a million. Some would argue that with facial recognition, you have some challenges when it comes to privacy. Whereas if you flip it, facial authentication is all about privacy, and it's built at the core. You put the user and their privacy at the center of what you build and work with. You only enroll the users in your organization or the ones that need to be. It is not used for surveillance. There is no covert collection of data. And it's about 1-to-1 versus 1 to a million. And let's also throw in that you have the flexibility when it comes to things such as retaining the images or not. Facial authentication is next generation access control, and it can look just like this. As a user approaches the system, 3D imaging technology identifies the user in real time and begins to track him or her as he or she moves towards the door. As soon as the user is within range, the system performs a series of liveness tests in real time to ensure that the user is a real person and not a picture or a video. Once it verifies liveliness, the system compares the users against its onboard database of enrolled users and will send the user's credentials to the access control system for authorization. And that is next generation access control, and how the old facial recognition shifts to the new and becomes facial authentication. Next month, we will tackle biometrics of yesterday, those big clunky fingerprint readers, versus biometrics for today and tomorrow, like Apple ID. The next generation of access control is brought to you by Alcatraz.ai and the Inside. Till next time, I'm Leo Dess, CEO of Group 337 and the Inside. Thank you for taking the time to join us as we work together to bring the future to today and redefine access control for the next generation.